What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Welcome to Truth Be Told, where we believe an experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and joining me now in studio, your co-host, Walt Lusk. Thank you for supporting our sponsors, Earth Friendly Products. For over 40 years, they have made the planet a safer, cleaner, and greener place to live with their natural home cleaning products and much more. So make sure you go to your local grocery store and health food markets and request their products. So for more information, go to ecos.com. That's ECOS.com.
And take your mind on a literary journey by traveling right over to adventureslimited.press.com to purchase books from our famed experts featured right here on Truth Be Told.
All right, today we're going to be discussing chemtrails. Are they theory or fact? Chemtrails are long-lasting trails left in the sky by high-flying aircraft. Are these biological agents deliberately sprayed for sinister purposes or undisclosed to the general public?
And tonight we are diving right into this controversial conspiracy with Sharon Schloss and Gabe Cohen. Sharon is an anti-geoengineering activist, researcher, and writer from right here in Los Angeles. 3 years ago, the severity of the worldwide geoengineering programs personally hit home with Sharon when she learned about the connection between her recurring health problems and the persistent contrails in our atmosphere.
And she has devoted her life towards studying and raising awareness of these catastrophes, covert operations. She runs a website called Kimbo. That's thekimbo.com, and the blog site Somewhere Under the Kimbo. And so we want to make sure you check that out, where she is also educates about the climate engineering and the negative impact on the environment and public health.
The work has led her toward a life of helping people learn how to remove these toxic metals from their bodies and becoming active and live a chemtrail-free life through the use of scalar and Orgone energy. This remarkable discovery has led her to learning and sharing the spiritual awakening that could only happen in the face of such darkness.
Well, we want to welcome our wonderful guest in studio. We have Sharon Schloss and Gabe Cohen. Yay! Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
Doing great.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, folks, you've got to hold on to your hats.
Yeah,
you
we
better
have a lot
grab
to
a pen
talk
and paper.
about.
We are going to be going blitzing speed. This is probably going to be the most amazing and important shows we here at Truth Be Told have ever done.
And we
Wow.
well, it is
a lot to
true
live up to.
because this is something that
Not really. No, just kidding.
No. Well, chemtrails have been around for decades, and a lot of people just don't know what they are. Or we just see a plane go by and it's leaving some little trail of smoke, but then it dissipates sometimes, and we don't even think about it. We just go on with our lives. So, Sharon, let's start with you. Before we get into the details of what chemtrails are, I always find out how people really get into this genre of, I guess, conspiracy theory, because it's important to us. But again, how did you get from a music degree? Is that right?
I have an art degree. I've been a musician and an artist my whole life, and I never expected.
And now you're an activist.
Yeah, well, I've always been concerned about the environment
Right.
my entire life. From the age of 12, I found out about the rainforests being destroyed. I understood about landfills, and from that age, I started forcing my parents to recycle. And used my babysitting
How was
money.
that?
It
They're
was
like,
very
"Wow."
difficult. It was very difficult. They were
Right.
used to throwing everything out. So, I mean, those were the times before the yellow bins, before the blue bins, where you actually have to put an effort to recycle.
And so when you were going through college and you said you were getting your art degree, so when was that wake-up call to say, what are chemtrails?
Well, I had been awake to many things before I woke up to chemtrails, and I was in a little bit of a sleepy phase in between. I became very jaded somewhere around Bush's second election because I am a recovering Democrat. I'm no longer Democrat, but I was one. Anyway, I had volunteered for Dennis Kucinich, who had a lot of ideas I agreed with. Starting around 2004, I decided to go back to sleep for a while because it was too depressing.
Yeah,
It
please,
can
for
be.
8 years.
Yeah,
it was,
no, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be.
But as it is now, I'm not a political person. My concern is actually more the way you had Adam Kokesh on here talking
Right.
about how the
He was a
government
great-
is imprisoning us, and
Yes.
most of these ecological catastrophes could be averted by eliminating the government. And people think the government can regulate, but they can't because there's a revolving door between corporations and our government, and the corporations want to pollute.
Absolutely.
Oh, my God, yeah.
But we're talking about geoengineering. I woke up to this I first heard about it maybe 5 years ago. I truly woke up to it when I realized that so many health issues I was having were caused by it. I mean, and other things too.
Right.
After waking up to geoengineering, I woke up to fluoridation of the water. I woke up to GMO food, but
Yeah, fluoride is a topic for another show.
it is, definitely. But I woke up to many things. Found out many of my health problems were related to these poisons that are totally sanctioned by the government.
I'm sure that a lot of people are having the similar challenges. Can you elaborate briefly on what health challenges you faced or are facing?
Well, I am not facing any
Yeah.
right now because what we'll get to later in this program is what we've done to eliminate geoengineering in Los Angeles.
Right.
But the health challenges, sore throats, allergies, headaches, fatigue, like chronic fatigue syndrome. I could barely function.
I had it.
You had it.
Yeah.
It's just terrible to live like that. And those were some. And you know what? I'm going to say this. This is not something that's easy to say. And I'm sure a lot of ladies don't want to talk about this, but yeast infections, candida in the intestines, in the body.
Right.
And I never talked about this, but I'm going to say it because
Well, it's important.
it's something to not be embarrassed about.
Again, these are issues that everybody's facing. It's like, well, heavens,
Yeah.
I just got rid of one, or whatever that one is, and now I have another one. What am I doing wrong?
And now when I bring up that problem with other women, they say, me too. It's all the time. What's going on? Well, heavy metals in the atmosphere will cause that. It'll cause a proliferation of molds in the body and in nature too. And that's why we have so many agricultural problems. It's one of the reasons.
Well, I know you said before the show that actually Gabe here was the one that really kind of helped you.
He did. He showed me the film. What in the world
film?
are they spraying?
The film? What's the film?
The first film that really educated me about the details. What in the world are they spraying?
What film did you show her?
That is the film.
Oh, that is a film.
I first learned about chemtrails / geoengineering about, I don't know, 2007, 2008, just from a casual email from a friend of mine. I had ostensibly the same reaction as Sharon had. I just kind of said, well, let's just add this to the very long list of things that suck.
Right.
And I just went about my life because, I was in my early 20s and I really didn't care about much. So,
well, in our 20s, we don't care about much anyway. Yeah.
true, but
We care about other things.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I didn't really pay it much more attention, and then I met Sharon in 2011, and she would go out on these jogs, these 2, 3, sometimes 4 mile runs, and she would come back just like collapse from exhaustion, and it happened over and over again.
It happened for years.
And my allergies, like I started getting allergies out of nowhere, and I'd never had allergies for any reason, and just chronic, repetitive allergies. And she asked me at some point, "What's going on?" And I think I must have looked out at some point, and I saw the crisscross crosshatch patterns.
Hash patterns.
And it just kind of came back to me in one fell swoop, and I said, well, they're spraying. And and then we sort of, at that point, we both, she kind of took the reins at that point and really started investigating, and I feel like I helped too, didn't I?
You did help a lot.
He's like,
I really
I hope.
I really went with it though. Like it was pretty much then a daily thing. I would research this every day after, in the evening because I'm working, and write about it. And I started documenting it in March of 2013. I started putting up daily photos.
So about 2 years ago.
Yep, 2 years. Somewhere under the Chembo. I was 2 years old. For the first year, I was just documenting it, putting up links so people could learn about it, and researching and writing about it. And I did a couple of articles for IntelliHub about it. And strictly from the point of view of what is this, these chemicals. And the chemicals being sprayed, I found to be aluminum, barium, and strontium. And they were directly linked to my health issues and many people's health issues. And then I started learning how to block these in the body with supplements. And I thought, this is not enough. They're still spraying. And that led me further into research, and I found the science of Wilhelm Reich, Orgone energy, also known as scalar energy. And that's where we are today. And this is why in Los Angeles, you can go out, and today you'll look outside, beautiful blue skies, western wind, natural weather
Yeah,
conditions.
I was noticing today is a pretty clear day. There's no chemtrails.
Gorgeous. And
Yeah.
it's been, for the past year, we've had fewer and fewer. They could barely do it because we've learned how to use this free energy. And it's not just us. If it was just us, it wouldn't be enough.
Right.
But it takes a massive effort to do this, but we've learned how to stop it. So I could talk about the problem, but there's nothing to fear. And there's a lot of people are very scared about geoengineering, but it's not just about spraying. It's about energy. The metals that are sprayed they're a medium. So what they do is they turn the atmosphere into a plasma state, which is easily manipulated by radio frequencies.
Like HARP.
So
Like
we're
HARP.
talking about HARP.
Yeah.
And yes, HARP does exist, folks.
Yes, it exists. It's in Alaska. You can look it
Yes.
up on Wikipedia. So
Very much so.
but yeah, it's not just HARP. There are other facilities like HARP worldwide and in the ocean. And it's not just that. It's the cell tower networks, the smart grid, any gridding of EMF. When it's done as a grid and with certain distance between these towers or facilities, they're creating an energy grid using radio frequencies, EMF, and it works in conjunction with the chemtrails sprayed.
You made one observation which really hit me just before the show, and that is, they are building, at least here in Southern California, more cell towers, but yet the reception hasn't changed.
Yes, because cell phone towers may or may not be what's giving us cell phone reception.
Should I find some music to play there?
Well, I mean, whatever their purpose is, whether they operate our cell phones or not, is not of my concern. My concern is that cell phone towers put out a tremendous amount of positive ions,
Right.
which are bad for our health, and they put out EMF. The positive ions are creating drought by inhibiting rainfall because we need negative ions in the atmosphere for the hydrogen bond to form. This is stuff
For
I brought
rain.
some books. Yeah, and I brought this book by Dwin Gardner, The Science of Rain, which is a great book that explains
The
this.
Science of Rain.
And,
Yep.
and it's a thin book, folks.
It's very easy,
Oh.
and
Does it have
it's
pictures?
fun, and it has
That's all.
pictures. It has lots of
There
nice
you go.
pictures. I also brought this one here by Don Croft, The Life Etheric, which is about orgonite gifting. So both of these gentlemen have done tremendous work making thousands upon thousands of orgone devices, like these little tower busters.
Don Croft is one of the pioneers. He's very humble about it, but he's one of the pioneers of orgonite creation and gifting.
Right.
And
Wow.
and Dwin Gardner can be found on YouTube under the name Orgonite Austin. He's got lots of videos up. Yeah, we made our first batch of this exactly 1 year ago come Sunday. So
Yeah.
Wow,
we've
that's pretty
been
cool.
we have a year of photo and video documentation without orgonite, where we're just documenting what the sky looks like that day, and we can't do anything about it. And that was part of the problem, is that there's just so much despair when
Right.
it comes to these things, because we talk about this many times. You can refuse to eat GMO food. You can filter the fluoride out of your water. It's a pain, but you can. It is possible. You can refuse vaccinations and not have mercury in your system. You can take all of these
You
steps.
can refuse smart meters.
Exactly. You can refuse smart meters. You can not have Wi-Fi in your house. Wi-Fi is a huge source of EMF. But breathing isn't optional. Last time I checked,
Right.
so we have to breathe. And when we have this stuff in our skies, we feel hopeless because it seems like there's nothing we can do about it. However, we discovered that this orgonite does do significant damage not only to the chemtrail program but also to the smart
Like
grid,
kryptonite
the
for the-
EMF weapons. Yes,
Yeah.
more or less.
Well, it kind of goes back to as kids in a history class, we were taught, Native Americans this, and then as we get older, and now at 2015, we look like we were the bad guys, the white people, the bad guys. So it sounds like everything
thought?
yeah, right. But now everything we've been taught, everything that we can go to a grocery store and buy has been really, we've been lied to.
Goofed up.
Well, I don't know about goofed up, because goofed up, it means, oops, I didn't know about it.
No, it's not just mistakes, because like they would occasionally make a mistake in our favor,
Right.
if they were just simple mistakes.
Right. So, okay, when you started taking this so seriously and you put a website together, again, there's so many people that are enlightened, but they don't really take this on as pretty much as a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like I said, we've asked many people to be on the show, and a lot of people didn't want to talk about it.
No, they
A lot of
don't.
people don't want
No,
to
they
talk
don't.
about
Why?
it.
Why is that?
Because there's a huge stigma against it. You're talking about something that's been marginalized as a conspiracy theory, and those words, conspiracy theory,
Right.
it
scares people.
and it sounds stupid. I mean, to some people, if they're like, "Oh, you're just one of those,"
Kooky,
paranoid conspiracy theorists. It's a hard subject because it's very easy to just say, "Oh, those are just contrails. You're just being paranoid. Why would the government spray us with chemicals?" Well, I mean, I'm willing to talk about it because it's a huge problem, and it isn't talked about, and it needs to be, and it leads to other things.
Well, it needs to be exposed.
It does, and once you understand that climate engineering is going on, so geoengineering is climate engineering. It's the cause of a lot of the weird weather. It's a cause of agricultural and health problems, and so to marginalize it as a conspiracy theory means to ignore it, the cause of so many of our environmental problems. And I don't think that our government wants us to know about it, because I think there's more to it than I feel like if the full scope of the story came out, there'd be a revolution.
Oh,
And I don't think
I'd hope.
Yeah. Anyway, people don't want to talk about it because it's so marginalized. It's much easier to talk about GMOs. It's very accepted. They'll
Right.
talk about it on an NPR radio.
or fracking.
Well, let's for the people that are listening, either live or on
Podcast.
YouTube podcast, let's go over. Okay, so chemtrails is one way, which is the airplane spraying
They
like
spray.
crop dusting. So, what other ways can you give us again? What other ways that they're releasing
Yes.
this?
Yes, the spraying is just part of it. They release tremendous amounts of this material, these heavy metals. They're nanoparticulate heavy metals, which means you take 60 of these particles. They are the size of a red blood cell.
Wow.
So they're tiny. And they release them over the ocean. They release them in remote areas through canister releases. So they release clouds of it. It's not just the spraying. And the spraying is done to guide in these systems. But these are metals that can't work on their own. They require energy. So that's where HARP comes in, and that's where the cell phone towers come in. These are being guided. The metals are being put up there to make the atmosphere workable for this. It creates a plasma state that can be manipulated by radio frequencies. They can manipulate jet streams, change weather patterns. And also, this tremendous release of nanoparticles creates a proliferation of condensation nuclei. So you need particulates to form a cloud. But when you have so many of them, the moisture is spread out evenly amongst them. So you're ending up spreading it out. You can't have a rain cloud form.
Right.
But at the same time, they're blasting positive ions, and they're using scalar energy in a different way than we use it. They're using it to create more drought conditions. So they're moving the stuff around, but they're also inhibiting the hydrogen bond formation through putting these positive ions into the atmosphere.
I mean, when just any normal person would be like, okay,
That's a lot. It sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot
Yeah.
of work, and it's in
Yeah.
contradiction to the natural
Yes.
Exactly.
flow of the jet streams and the way the Earth works.
And we talked about if I interrupt you, I'm sorry, but we talked about in the green room is we say, okay, people are going to ask who is doing this,
Yeah, who are
and why?
Okay.
Why are they doing this?
I will have to say, I mean, I can talk about it. It's not so important who and why. It's important that we stop it. And many people have said this now. But it is related to military programs. It is related to UN programs and also
surprise.
private contractors. So
Sure, money in it.
there is money in it. There's money in creating drought because GMO seeds have been engineered to resist drought in aluminum or acidified soils caused by aluminum.
So the seeds were specifically designed for what they're putting in the atmosphere.
Exactly.
It's a classic formula of create the problem,
And-
offer the solution, get the desired result.
And then they can, sell GMO seeds that can grow in these conditions. That's one reason Nestle, here's some Nestle water here,
I
I'm
know,
laughing.
I know.
Nestle, they
Well,
want
they're
to
taking all the water.
they
right
want to
now.
monopolize our water.
Yeah.
Their CEO believes that water is not a human right.
Oh
They
my
have a great
gosh.
interest in a drought in California, but I don't want to dwell as
However.
much on the who and the why, although I can. I do want to tell people so they're not scared that this can be stopped very, very easily through using Orgone energy, which just
What's Orgone?
Orgone is a type of free energy discovered by Wilhelm Reich.
And now spell Orgone for
It's
starts.
Orgone. It's also known as scalar energy, and it can be used. It's to reverse droughts. It can be used to remove geoengineering aerosols. So it's very useful, and there's a reason why Wilhelm Reich was put in jail and had all his books burned by the United States government because he was working with something that would contradict the weather modification programs already being started by them at that point. He discovered it in the 30s, was working with it through the 50s, and used it to cure cancer with Orgone accumulators. It's really amazing stuff. It's free energy, and it's a great atmosphere purifier, and it's a great negative ionizer. And so we make these little devices that can be used in a large scale as well.
So actually, and being from Kansas during the Dust Bowl days, he had created this back then
He
in the 40s.
in the four. Oh, okay.
Well, he was
A
using
little
the Cloud Buster was his invention, which he was using in the 50s.
And how does that? Just an example. How does that happen? I mean, is it through a aircraft or?
The wonderful thing about it is you don't need aircraft. There's a company called Ionogenics that does weather modification, but they use negative ionization, no aircraft. They have facilities in Mexico.
Who would have thought?
It's really interesting, but you never hear about it. But they have been doing this. I have an article from 2004. They reversed the desert in northern Mexico this way, create rain.
Really?
Yeehaw.
Yeah. So they are a weather modification company that does not use aircraft. They use negative ionization to promote rainfall. And that's what we're doing with Orgonite. We're throwing it
Wow.
everywhere.
I'm like baffled.
I know.
Really am.
I think that, when geoengineering is such a new issue to people, and it's strange, but I feel like I'm already coming at them with this solution because I learned it. But I'm way late on the whole thing anyway. Don Croft
But
was in
because
this in
there's no
2000
need
already.
to dwell on the problem when
Right.
you have the solution, like
Right.
we've said many
And
times.
the problem's been here for a very, very long time, and
Yeah.
obviously there
Exactly.
needs to be a solution, and the sooner the better, and,
And yes.
the more the merrier.
Yeah, and people don't believe it a lot of the time, but when they try it, they see it's remarkable. And I've documented this on my blog and website.
So can you give us an example?
Yeah. We have seen the actual shape of the scalar wave vortex created by Orgonite, which is a spiral. And so on a heavy spray day, or even just a medium spray day, you'll see they spray the lines, they turn into fake clouds, and you see that stuff just lingering, right? And you guys know the difference between a real cloud and a
Oh,
fake
yeah.
cloud.
They're,
You've seen
they're
them.
easily distinguishable. Even an amateur person can look up and see a
That
real
just doesn't
cloud
seem
that
right.
is three-dimensional
Versus a geometric.
versus something that
yeah.
is that
Right.
looks like someone went into Photoshop and made the cloud.
Exactly.
Right.
They're spray painting the sky, basically. So anyway, we've seen, and I have pictures of this, corkscrew shapes of that stuff. The chemical stuff corkscrews down into the scalar wave vortex, and it's just transmuted. And that's what Wilhelm Reich discovered is the changing of energy, transmutation of dangerous energy into safe energy. And that's what it does. It transforms, it takes out toxins, and it also transforms EMF. So it has both, which we need. Because
Like
geoengineering
when you
is...
light a cigarette, it turns the solid of the tobacco into a gas. It's
Right.
not too dissimilar from that.
Oh, really?
We need this because geoengineering uses both pollution placed into the atmosphere nanoparticulates. I can get into all the people talking about that, all the geoengineers like David Keith and Ken Caldera, who have talked about putting pollution deliberately into the atmosphere to slow global warming, which
To
it doesn't.
slow it.
Which it doesn't do.
Oh, okay.
It actually makes it worse. So they talk about putting pollution in the atmosphere, which they're already doing. So they
I
put
was
the
like,
pollution up
they've
there.
been doing that for a long time.
A long time. But what's nice about the Orgone energy is it removes the pollution and it transforms the radio frequencies that are used to manipulate it. So we can restore climate by doing this.
Now, does it also, they were talking about the holes in the ozone. They really don't talk about it much anymore. Does that
They
also
don't.
help fill those holes?
I am not sure how Orgone reacts with ozone, but I do know this, and this is something that Wilhelm Reich documented, is that Orgone energy, when there's positive Orgone, the sun will feel gentle on the skin. And I've noticed this. And when there's a lot of deadly Orgone, which is the stuff put out by...
you.
Yeah, and it can
That's
change
put
from
out
day
by
to day.
cell phone towers and
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, smart meters, etc.
So it changes from day to day, and this was Wilhelm Reich's discovery long before we talked about the ozone layer.
Is that why people sometimes that here in Los Angeles, if I go back in Kansas, the sun doesn't feel quite as blaring?
Exactly, because we have a lot of deadly Orgone here in LA. That's the stuff put out by all our electrical devices, by the cell phones, by the smart meters, and by HARP.
Cities in general oftentimes have heavy concentrations of that.
And I've noticed even years ago, we'd always talk about how Wichita, because it was one of the bigger towns close to us, how the storms would go around it all the time.
Yeah,
we're like, that's weird how it just would go all around it.
You can
Yep.
see that on
Yeah.
radar. That happens where it will just completely circumvent the city. It'll
Yeah.
go right
Yeah.
around.
It's because of the positive ions. They repel rainstorms. And so this is actually scientific. It's not new age stuff. And I prefer to talk about it that way. There's
So that
definitely a
people don't
spiritual
forget,
side to it because free energy, once you start working with free energy and you feel the effects on you because having this in your home transforms EMF. And when you transform EMF, your mind becomes clearer. You're able to think clearly. You're healthier. You sleep better. So it actually does have a part in a spiritual and consciousness awakening. So it does help. But I
Makes
mean, I
sense.
talk about it scientifically, but it does help you. And there's a reason free energy is suppressed.
And I would imagine the benefits from that perspective are pretty immediate. I mean, if you take this, put it in your home, boom.
It's right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it only takes about 15, 20 minutes to feel it. I mean,
Immediate and drastic.
And so tell us again
Wow.
for the people that just tuned in. So tell us again how we can begin this process.
yes.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely.
When the best way is to make Orgonite and just do it with an open mind. Just try making it. Anyone can do it. It's cheap. And I have links on my website, thechembo.com. You'll go to the part that says organize and it tells you all about it. I have links to videos that'll explain how to make it.
I think
And
I'm
I
showing
also
a picture
explain
of
how.
one of the things that you created,
Oh, good. Okay.
yeah.
So we do art Orgonite too.
which is
We
nice.
make it beautiful for your home, but at the same time, that it's not just a sculpture. It transforms EMF. And Orgonite, here's a fancy one. It's resin, and inside the resin is
That's nice.
a crystal. This one's got an amethyst geode and a quartz point.
But it can be any crystal.
You can, quartzes are very favorable. Calcites are very good. But yeah, you can use any crystal because crystals contain scalar energy.
Right.
And they release scalar energy. When compressed in a resin, that increases it. The squeezing of the resin increases that energy. And the metal shavings and this copper Tesla coil broadcast that energy out. So you're creating a scalar wave vortex using this. This is a very small device, but it actually has a far-reaching effect. I've seen one pyramid this size transform the weather within 20 minutes at a street corner while I was waiting for a bus before.
Really?
It's amazing. There was a totally chemtrail sky, completely whited out, and in just 20 minutes of standing there, real natural clouds came in from the ocean, and you could see the cloud movement, and you know the difference.
So it doesn't take a lot.
It doesn't take a lot.
And we've seen this happen many, many times, and we've documented it on our blog and website.
So, for example,
this
just
is
your home, for example, would that be,
This is great for a home.
is that any bigger, smaller? I mean, is that,
Do you need them in every room or just?
I like them in every room,
Oh, yeah.
but if you have one like
It
this,
can
that'll
only
take care
help.
of your home. One like this would take care of
Wow.
a one-bedroom place, no problem, maybe two-bedroom place. I like to just have at least one of these in every room, these little guys.
And
I wear it too. I wear it for EMF protection because your cell phone produces EMF, and I have a cell phone, and who doesn't? I mean, some people don't, but
Most.
so it's a personal protection. It's small. It just does the field around your body. And these ones, these are the Tower Busters. They're tactical field orgonite. This is Don Croft's brainchild. Orgonite was first invented by a man named Carl Vels, and he was using it just with metal and resin. No crystals, I don't think, just metal and resin. And it was used more for personal energy to just, better yourself athletically and stuff like that. And Don Croft took it, incorporated a quartz crystal, and he deploys these tens of thousands of these all over in the ocean.
Really?
And we do it too.
many other people as well.
We started doing it too for the last year. We've made hundreds of them. We're planning to make thousands.
Right. So you just placing them in certain. Wow.
Placing them. Cell phone towers are very good if you get them within a quarter mile of.
And I was going to say, you're saying a quarter mile. I mean, that's not close.
No, it doesn't
and have an
have to be.
impact.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
They're very powerful things, and they will neutralize the deadly radiation coming out of one, and ostensibly turn it into a broadcaster of that.
And as strange as it sounds, we've documented it with pictures, and
It's all documented.
It's so exciting to create rain. And the way it works for us is when we know it's going to rain, or we know it can rain,
Like
and
next week.
And they'll do a tremendous geoengineering effort when the rain is on the way. And Californians have talked about this. They know, and they
Attempts to suppress
they
the rain.
spray like
Right.
crazy
But
when
then
it's going to rain.
when we have to work extra hard, and of course, obviously, there's other people working very hard too. It only helps the more people doing it.
Oh,
but
this
then
is
the rain
amazing
comes
stuff.
anyway.
This is amazing stuff.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, you've tuned into Truth Be Told here at UBN Radio Network. You can pull us on Stitcher and iTunes, and I would highly encourage you to tell all your friends. We have some amazing guests on studio today. We have Sharon Schloss and Gabe Cohen, and they're talking about chemtrails and EMFs and ways to actually improve your health amazingly quick.
Oh, yeah, and I was going to tell the listeners that they can make their own orgonite and try it.
Oh, you can?
It's so easy to make.
But
if you want to be,
buy it from you.
well, you can buy it from me.
Or anyone else.
Yeah.
Wherever.
Yeah, you can buy it from any reputable orgonite vendor. You can get to them from you can get to our shop from my website, thechemo.com, or on ethericwarriors.com. That's Don and Carol Croft's website. They've got a list of reputable orgonite vendors. Organize Africa is a terrific organization that does this. And
Really?
they make them cheaply, and they have done unbelievable work to reverse drought in Africa and increase crop production. Amazing
That
work.
That's
is,
documented right there.
It's
That's
just
amazing.
amazing. So, yeah, I love Organize
Meticulously
Africa. You can. I have a video from
Yeah, I'd love to see that one.
George Ritchell of Organize Africa speaking at the Breakthrough Energy Conference, and he explains it and what they did in Africa. We're trying to do this in California because the climate engineering in Africa and California is similar. There's definitely an agenda behind that, and it's a lot of it's biotech.
Right.
As you know, Monsanto wants Africa.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Well, they
Oh,
want
yeah.
the, want the world. But
They want they are trying to capitalize on hunger,
resources
and drought and poverty, and it's terrible to capitalize on human misery, but that's what they do. But Organize Africa has reversed the droughts there. Dwayne Gardner, Science of Rain, he has reversed drought in Texas, and
Really?
we're working
Wow,
on it
so
in California.
This is great.
It's
Also
really
documented.
happening.
Especially
so
right now
good.
in California. If most of people that are tuning in may not know, but this is one of the worst droughts.
Yes, and it's
in modern
completely
times.
engineered.
Yeah,
And
and I can't. And then people are like, what? How can this be?
But you may
Yeah.
have noticed that the drought in the past rainy season, this one that we just had, was a significant improvement from the previous two,
Right.
where we got literally almost no rain.
Right.
And despite what the misinformation network will tell you, every single time it rains, they'll say, "Oh, this won't make a dent in the drought." It's just more fear mongering.
Of course.
When you look at the
of course.
actuality of it, there's been a significant improvement. There's still a long way to go.
and
don't
the
get me
fact
wrong.
that it actually rained is
Yeah.
enough of an indication. Let
And
alone
not just in
none.
Southern California, but in northern and central, and snow in the Sierras.
And the desert's turning green again.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe was out by Palm Springs, and he got some amazing pictures. The desert is green again. It's
I used to visit
remarkable.
my grandfather out in Palm Springs at least once a year when I was a kid, and this is in the 90s when we were getting a lot of rain, like El
Right.
Nino years.
Yeah.
Up till 98, we were going out there once a year, and I never saw greenery. It was always just brown, shrub brush, and little creosote bushes. Nothing that was really green.
Right.
So I went out. I did this gig back in January, and we drove on the 10, and I'm looking both sides, and there's literally greenery and snow on the mountain. I don't
And big
know the
rain
name of it.
clouds. He got some amazing pictures.
Oh yeah,
Wow, that'd
the
be
big
beautiful.
mountain that's right where the 10 curves and goes
Right.
into Palm Springs had snow on it.
Yeah.
I'm
San
like,
Jacinto.
and
That's pretty
yeah,
amazing.
I had never seen that even when I was a kid.
So it's what I've noticed. I've been here
Something's
13
going on.
years. That I felt like the seasons were changing because we got some rain in like July, and I'm like, we don't usually get.
Oh,
rain.
that was a weird one. I can
it
explain
was,
that.
Okay, well, tell me, because I was like, is the seasons changing the way it was?
It's not normal. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. It's not normal for us to have rain in July. And this last summer was such a breakthrough with Orgone energy for us, and remarkable discoveries were made this last summer. As far as the rain in July, what was going on is, and this was something we were watching on the satellite imagery and just monitoring the weather, Mexico was being chem-bombed very hard.
really?
Chem bombing is, if you want to know more about that,
Chem-bombing.
this guy, Bruce Douglas.
Not the least bit
Yeah,
spooky.
it sounds
No,
scary.
not at all.
I don't mean to be scary. This guy Bruce Douglas from Maui, he talks a lot about chem bombing, which is the big aerosol releasing explosions, as opposed to the spraying. It's faster. So there was tremendous deployment of aerosol material in this weather war in Mexico. But there was a tremendous amount of rain too. Monsoon season was happening, and there's always, every summer they go to town in the eastern part of Southern California and in Mexico. This has been since I've been observing it for at least the past couple of years of photographic observation. Same thing, both summers, and so there was a lot of rain going on, and
Now you have to catch that, folks. I'm going to interrupt you. She said weather war.
that's what's going
right.
on here.
Okay.
This is weather warfare.
This is war.
This
This
is
is
war.
not a war that's fought with guns and bullets and
Absolutely not.
missiles and howitzers and mortar. No, this is a completely different kind of war, one we've never really seen in human history
Right.
before. And that's why a lot of people don't know it's happening, because you think of war, what do you think of?
Right.
People
Or-
don't have that handle.
Or, for example, I'm going to do a rain dance and it's going to rain, right? Well, how goofy is that? So this is actually a weather war. I mean, this
It is a weather
real,
war.
and it's happening.
And as far as rain dancing goes, there's been some very interesting ceremonies that have been done, but I can get into that another time.
We will have you
That's-
back.
But from
Gosh, I hope
from a strictly, I try to be scientific about it, because there's a spiritual side to this weather
Yes,
war too.
absolutely.
But from a scientific viewpoint, there was a lot of rain going on in Mexico, and it's monsoon season in Eastern California. So through all of this, the clouds started migrating in. I mean, I noticed that, like, through all of this manipulation, these clouds would come up from the south and east into Los Angeles and create these kind of cloudy skies in July that are totally not typical here. I mean, I grew up here. We didn't have that. But through the use of Orgone energy, we were able to transmute the toxins and remove the aerosols. And so the clouds had been misplaced. They were here. They weren't supposed to be, but they had been misplaced. And
Somebody's like, oops.
we got them to, we got them to rain out. A couple of times in July,
Yeah.
we got them to rain out, as opposed to just being covered in a chemical blanket. So we had a couple of interesting rains.
Yeah, I
over the
remember.
summer.
I was just like, wow, this is really strange.
Well, the rain
It
was a
really
result
strange.
of us working against that. If we hadn't been
Good.
doing that, it would have just been clouds. But we tried very hard to undo it, and rain occurred. We
That's
had some
amazing.
remarkable. We had an amazing September. If you go back to my archive on
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere Under the Chembo, it's thechembo.tumblr.com. Check out September. Unbelievable transmutations.
You
all
can see
month.
the push and pull if you go to the archive.
Yeah.
They're like from 1 month to the next. It's just
So
push
it's a
and pull.
September to remember.
It was a September to remember. We had no chemtrails all September. I mean, everything
October
that came
they
in,
hit back. November and December we
We
hit
hit
back.
back.
January they hit back. And I have to also stress this, that it's not just us. It's many other people that are getting to this.
So,
Every single
so is
day.
is it a
there's
coordinated
new people.
effort per se?
No, it's an
No.
unorganized effort. It's completely unorganized, but it only takes
Which
a few
keeps
people.
it from being sabotaged.
Exactly.
Can you tell, when you look up into the sky, can you tell what organization or is doing what sprays? Is there like kind of like trademarks?
Well,
you
there are
know?
people who use the Plane Finder app on their phone, and they find that sometimes commercial jets are releasing material.
Commercial jets.
Sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
Through the Plane Finder app. I cannot identify them personally. I recognize certain planes. I recognize the red-bottomed ones. I don't know who's doing that. I'm told by some sources that the red-bottom ones are military. But, I really don't know who exactly. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody does. And we have a lot of evidence. But I also think that if it's available online, I find it dubious. If it's just out there, like, check this out. But there's a document from the U.S. Air Force owning the weather in 2025, and it's about weather modification and its uses in warfare. And so it's not something our government isn't dabbling in and I think they are involved in it. But like I said, it's one of these things where it's impossible to know exactly who. And the film never came out. Who in the World is Spraying was sabotaged before it could come out.
Gee.
The third one in
Surprise.
the sequel.
Why in the World is available, and that's the Monsanto stuff I was talking about. Water rights, GMO, those issues. Disaster capitalism, crazy weather. It's great for insurance companies.
Well, I remember as a kid, there was a couple things. I remember as a kid when they were talking about, they said, the government can actually put something in the clouds and make it rain.
Yeah.
I remember
Cloud
them.
seeding,
Yeah, I
yes.
remember them talking about this years ago.
And they do it. And weather modification companies, private contractors like Weather Modification Inc. do it too. It's being done by so many different people. So when I'm seeing it done, it's hard to say who it is, but there are different people involved.
But what's funny is we're having more droughts, but yet they have the capability of that's what I was like. Wait a minute,
Who has the capability and who has
Right.
the money? And do the people with that kind of money want to make nice weather for us and lots of good food, or do
Right.
they want a desert with GMO corn and soy?
Because they can probably, they can save a lot of money and make a lot of money.
Well,
Yeah.
they spend a lot of money
Oh,
too.
I'm sure they do.
$5 billion a year
Wow, that's
on
a
this
lot.
spraying.
So GMO, explain what GMO is, so some people that are not really understanding what this is.
This is genetically modified foods, and this is a big issue in the U.S. right now.
Huge.
Yeah, and in Europe, these are banned, although they're
Yeah.
trying to sneak them in. In the United States, we have a lot of genetically modified food. There are no laws to label, and there's no laws to stop it.
Yeah, there was an initiative here in California, and it got. I mean, they spent gazillions of dollars, and it got defeated.
Yeah, they squashed it. They squash it in every state.
Got defeated.
It was close too.
Yeah.
yeah. It was close though.
But yeah, well, people
lost.
want to know what's in their food, and so
Absolutely.
biotech companies, they'll go in there in laboratory and manipulate the DNA of the seeds to do stuff like repel insects, like literally kill bugs that eat it, make their stomachs explode. That's not something we want to eat if it
That's
makes a
attractive.
bug die from eating it,
Or be resistant to
or to be-
abiotic stress, for
Right.
example.
like aluminum and drought. So they create seeds that are resistant to these things. And the other thing they do is they make the seeds unable to reproduce new seeds. So they create these terminator seeds.
Well, they have to buy more.
Or they have to buy more. So
Every
they're
year.
trying to monopolize food. They want to monopolize the food supply. They'll say they want to feed the world. I see it as they want to monopolize the food supply.
Yes.
That seems more realistic to what's actually happening. So
Baffles.
controlling the
baffles me.
weather is a great way to
Right.
manipulate the food supply.
And undoing their damage is the best way to combat it all. So
Most
okay,
definitely.
we're talking about lack of water and droughts, but also this chemicals is affecting our health,
Right.
such as cancers.
Right.
Like I said, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue years ago, and I mean, it was one of the most terrible things I went through, because no matter what I did, I could not almost function. And it took me a couple of years to actually even get back really on my
Sure.
feet.
And how many of us know of someone who's had some respiratory challenge, whether it be
yeah.
pneumonia,
Autism,
autism is
Alzheimer's.
way
My
up.
niece is autistic.
Alzheimer's is
yeah.
up. I mean, for example, I had my first case of bronchitis 2 years ago, and it took me over a year to get over it.
Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing
all
more
of
and
the
more.
all of the rise in all of these problems can either directly or indirectly be linked to these heavy metals.
Absolutely.
these
And
toxins.
also,
Yeah.
and I've noticed people's personalities have changed.
Oh, they have.
When I notice sprays, people get more irritable.
They are more irritable. I do too. It happens to me.
Yeah.
And I notice those heavy metals are so agitating to the body, and it's also the energy used in
Frequencies.
conjunction with it. It is so agitating, and it does create a lot of angry feelings, and
yeah, it's very negative.
it's
depression.
very negative.
Yeah.
Well, what's it to you?
Right.
So, but it is the energy too, and the chronic fatigue, the barium in the mix will deplete the body of potassium and make you exhausted. So you need to eat foods with potassium and replenish that, but also the energy assaults create that exhaustion. EMF creates chronic fatigue. So I recommend people to have a piece of Orgonite. It's inexpensive, and like I said, anyone can make it themselves. All you need to do is get some metal shavings from a machine shop, a locksmith. Brake shops have iron filings. Just get some free metal shavings. Buy some resin. You can use Bondo even. Anybody can do this. Get a crystal, a quartz crystal. Go to the crystal shop. They don't need to be pretty because they're just going to get it embedded in there. They can be pretty.
And they don't need to be quartz. That's a common.
They don't need to be quartz. Calcites are good. Any crystal works. I have this one. Oh, this is a rose quartz. These are actually all quartzes, but they don't have to be.
Quartz.
But I like quartz. It's powerful stone.
They
But
look
yes,
nice and
get the metal
it's easy to get.
shavings. Make a copper coil, or coil it around a pencil. Here's one, and also your listeners can look at my site and see pictures up close.
Yes, of course.
That's THECHEM as in man, B as in boy, OW.com.
Right there on the screen
Yeah.
if you're watching.
Oh, okay, great. So yes, you will you can, the simplest, dirtiest Orgonite that does the job. It doesn't have to be pretty. Put the metal shavings in a muffin pan, add a crystal, add a copper coil, and fill it with resin. You just need the resin and the catalyst. That's the simple recipe, and it immediately starts releasing scalar energy when you make it. And you will notice the results. It's unbelievable how it transforms your life.
Well, I'm going to have to get
Let
me
it
one of those.
harden, pop it out, and you've got your
The real more important thing that really hits me is, if everybody does a little, okay, if everybody just gets one of these, a few for their home, I mean, that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
All of this will do a lot.
It really does,
Yes.
and it's amazing.
So it's
and
just
it's
get
fun
on.
too. I actually have to say it's really
very
enjoyable.
empowering.
It feels great.
Yeah. If we all do a little, we're all going to have a huge impact.
And I have another interesting device that I just wanted to show off to you
Yes,
guys.
please.
This isn't. None of these are my invention. We didn't invent these. We just make them. This guy in Switzerland came up with this amazing thing. It's the same as Orgonite, but it doesn't have resin. This is an obelix. It's a quartz crystal that's wrapped in. You can't see it all, but underneath it is 23 karat gold leaf, sterling silver, copper wire, aluminum, and iron wires. And it works like Orgonite for those people who don't want to get involved with resin. Some people don't want to do that. And it's easy to make. Anyone can make it. And when it's hit by the sun, and this is where I don't understand how it works exactly compared with Orgonite, because I understand the scalar energy.
Right.
But this device, when hit by the sun, dispels chemtrails. Something this size will do like 15 miles. Of
Really?
chemtrails.
Something of this size.
Yes. And the bigger ones will do even more. And if you grid them, and this guy in Switzerland has put them in high places like up in the Alps, they've seen remarkable weather changes up there.
That's
I know two
amazing.
people in Switzerland who are making these and deploying them.
I think it's it's funny because we always think everything has to be big scale, and because we're like, well, there has to be more than that just to get some crystal. But what do you think? Is it because it's a natural substance that really just? Because tell us what the crystal is. I mean, just so people know why it helps so much with dispelling chemtrails.
What's the impact of the crystal?
Yeah.
Well, the crystal is just vitrified rock that was subjected to many, many, many years of pressure, heat, just in varying degrees and varying different circumstances. But it is, these crystals do give off this energy that Wilhelm Reich discovered. He discovered this bioelectrical charge in his patients, and then he started measuring it in other different areas. Every living thing has this energy inherently, and crystals just happen to contain a lot of it, and that's why it's used in Orgone devices.
Oh, and you had mentioned, the cell phone towers. with
We
crystals.
did. Tony and I and UBN had a booth at the Conscious Life Expo every year, and I went to a guy who was a crystal expert. He was like an Indian. He's like a 5th generation, and he said that crystals are used in all cell towers.
See, and that's very interesting because they use scalar energy like we do.
Yeah.
And scalar energy can be used like by HARP, what they do.
Yes.
And it can be used in really negative ways, and you'll see images of the rippled clouds online, and sometimes they'll see the caption scalar sky. The scalar energy creates those ripples. So have you seen those weird ripply clouds in the last decade or so?
But that's scalar energy being used for bad.
Yeah, it
but
can
it
be
can
used that
also be
way.
used for good, which is what we and many others are trying to do. And we have this all documented, by the way. This is
I know it sounds
It's
a little.
not
we don't
hocus
want
pocus.
we don't
Well-
want anyone to just take our word for it. We have an obligation as
Right.
people to take in what there is out there and discern what's true and reject the rest.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to in just 1 hour explain how
Oh no,
how
you'll
well
be
this
back
works.
just
Good.
We're
Great.
most definitely going to have
I
you
know
guys
people
back.
want to know all about chemtrails. They want to know the
Yes.
conspiracy, and I've given the basics on it, and I think that we've got to a point where if we don't stop the geoengineering right away,
The sooner
it's
the
big
better.
trouble for
Oh,
us.
yeah,
as a-
absolutely.
definitely.
And we can't stop it by going to the government. That does not work. I
Well,
don't
we're
care what
pro-
anyone
that's
says.
They're the problem, not the solution.
Exactly, and if it's being
True.
done by them, they're not going to want to
Right.
admit to it. And if it's being done by someone else, they're still not going to want to admit to it. If it's a corporation, they're certainly not. And if it's being done by something from above and beyond that we aren't being told about, if that is the case, they definitely aren't going to tell us.
Right.
So I'm not saying that I can tell you who is doing it, but I could give you some ideas of who's doing it. And
And one
But
thing,
the solution's grassroots.
yeah, the solution is just let's
yeah.
get rid of it.
Organite. It's empowering to actually do. Duncroft compares it to taking down a B-2 bomber with an arrow, because and Dwayne Gardner himself says if something sounds too easy, people will reject it. But if something sounds too difficult, people will reject it. So consequently, we have this very narrow window of what is acceptable and what is true.
It is
and
true.
that's what this stuff challenges, because you see the results. We've documented as best we can. We've been making this stuff for a year, and we have all the pictures, all the videos as evidence of what this stuff is.
So if people are too lazy to make it themselves or just don't want to,
They can buy it.
They can buy it from you guys or others.
Yeah,
right?
we sell it for a pretty good price. And if you go to my website, there's a link to where you can buy it. We have a little Etsy shop. It's cute. They're really pretty. We make pendants that people can wear. I'm wearing one.
Cool.
We have pyramids of different shapes and sizes for your home, and we try to make it as accessible as we can for people. And there's, like I said, other sources. You can go to Organize Africa. They offer them at great prices too.
And we ship internationally, by the way.
We do.
Oh, there we go. Well, people,
yeah.
we have them all over the world listening. So.
I encourage
Absolutely.
people to make their own, but I offer it, and I'm always happy because everything we make selling it goes into our gifting.
Oh, that's great.
And we have done a tremendous amount of Orgonite flinging. He's a good thrower. Gabe's good at
All
throwing.
those years in Little League. is a
I'll
picture.
drive and he'll chuck, and we've really changed things. And you can watch it changing as you go. You can watch the sky clearing as you throw it.
Wow.
That's amazing. You just throw a little rock, basically, and
Yeah.
you see behind you the trail you've made from the chemtrails.
You can see it. You can
Yeah,
see the results.
amazing.
And when there's rain conditions coming and you see the rain suppression, you can undo it. And as each tower that you turn, you'll start to feel a few drops. You'll turn another one. You'll feel more drops. And by the end, we're running for cover.
I love it.
That's the
love it.
ultimate rain dance.
All right. Well, time is run out, but
Yeah, we
the crowd goes wild. We love having you here, and definitely we would love to have you guys back.
Thank you.
One thing before we go, I know you said, I know, right? You people, but you were talking about the spirituality and
Yes.
the spirit. I love that you say that, because Eddie, who's usually here also, he's a psychic, and he's always very intuitive, and he's amazing, and always talking about this spirituality side of it. And I think if people really realize that this is our body, this is our future, this is our planet, and this is something that we have to do for the spirit of the Mother Nature.
Yes. And if you want to do another chat, I will love to get into the spiritual aspects
love
of it
that.
and how this free energy opens up the possibilities of your mind. It's more than just changing the
do it.
atmosphere. It changes your mind.
It's
We'll
science
do
and
it.
spirituality. And
Definitely
you have to
have any
both
part of
them.
that one for sure.
It'll be a lot of fun. But
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot on that too.
All right. Well, go to thechembo.com. That's THECHEMBOW.com. Sharon, thank you so much. Gabe, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
On
Thank you.
Tumblr as well.
Oh, and check out the
chemo.tumblr.com.
And like I said, this is such a fascinating topic that we've been wanting to talk about for so long. I mean, so long that we finally got somebody that wanted to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I'm glad by the time you got around to getting somebody, they have a solution.
Yes.
So many people will
it's
just
not
talk about it.
Yeah, it's not just what's causing it, but we have solutions
Let's
now.
stop it. Let's stop the spraying.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it together. All right. This is Truth Be Told. When we come back, we have Dean Ryan. He's a producer. He's a writer. He's a radio host and an all-around
Here
good
in the
guy.
house, even.
He's going to be in the house.
Yeah, he's in the studio.
He has a nice beard going today.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Take care and don't go back to going polluting anybody. Get your crystals and change the
Act
world.
now.
Orgone.
Right now. All right. Be right back.